Hi guys, so today I wanted to come and do a winter TBR. So this is including obviously all the books that I'm hoping to read. My cat is on my little makeshift tripod knocking down my camera. Hopefully trying to read all these books throughout the next couple of months during winter, rather than doing like a monthly TBR. Some of these you would have seen already in a video, but I obviously didn't get to them, so I'm just kind of bringing some of them up. But there's also some newer ones that I want to really get to of late. They're in no particular order or anything like that, but I'll just grab them and let you know what I'm hoping to read, obviously. So the first thing here is this little book of crystals by Judy Hall. It's something that I've been meaning to get to and read for a while, just to kind of reintroduce myself and teach myself more about crystals and kind of their properties and stuff like that. So yeah, this is just a little quick book, hopefully, to just whiz through and sort of pick up in between reads. I don't know why I hadn't got to it any sooner. Then we've got two books by George Orwell. I've already ordered these recently, I believe, and that is George Orwell apparently. That is Animal Farm and Down and Out in Paris and London. So I won't talk too much about these because I go into a little bit more depth about them in the video that I recently did, so feel free to check that video out if you're interested. I'm hoping to finish reading Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. This is one I have been reading of late, the last week or so, and I'm hoping to get it done. I'm finding it quite a quickish read. I'm about halfway at the moment, so hopefully I can finish this relatively soon. It's basically a spin on the Wizard of Oz story. We've got someone that has a similar story to Dorothy, but it turns out that Dorothy Must Die, the world of Oz has turned into this weird post-apocalyptic kind of setting, and the girl that has come into Oz all of a sudden has a lot of stakes weighed on her to make it right, basically. So yeah, so far interesting. I'm getting through it, but obviously you'll see my full thoughts when I do a wrap up or whatever, kind of maybe a vlog, I don't know, probably a wrap up of this at a later date. Next, this is one that I've been meaning to read for what's probably years, because I wanted to read it before I saw the film, and my friend Maria gave it to me, like saying, oh, it's amazing, you've got to read it, you've got to read it. And I was like, oh, well, I wanted to read it anyway, so if you want to give it to me, that's fine. And that is The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. This one I think is quite an emotional one from what I've heard. Basically a boat washes up on shore with, I think, a baby crying in it, and these two people, I think they live on like a lighthouse kind of part of the island or whatever. Is that correct? I might be lying about that. Yeah, on a lighthouse keeper's island, and they decide to raise it and, you know, teach it everything it needs to learn and raise it like a, you know, like you would raise your child, I suppose. Well, at least that's what I think it's about, but obviously I will find out when I read it. It's just one of those things that at the time I really want to read it, and I really wanted to read it for so long, and it's still, I feel like, always at the back of my head, but then more things come into my mind. I end up verging more to fantasy, and then other things happen. But yeah, I would like to make a point of reading this. I'd also like to make a point of saying that, and I think I mentioned this maybe in my last video, the challenge that I had wanted to do for the end of the year, or for the whole of the year, was the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and a lot of these books aren't even catered to that. I've kind of sort of given up. Not given up, I've done a really good chunk of it, to be fair. It's just I kind of stopped being actively active in terms of reading books that I had hoped to read for each specific prompt. But what I'll probably do is still go through my list and kind of wrap it up eventually, maybe, I don't know. Maybe talk about it in a vlog or something at a later date, but I would still like to get through that list. I just probably won't do the 2021, but yeah, so my first attempt at the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, I failed, but I kind of just steered my way away from it, because sometimes I'm a mood reader and it's just not what I want to read at times. Like, they're very more broad prompts, and maybe I just need something that's more catered to my specific reading taste for me to actually get the list completed. But hey ho, that's just a little side note I thought I'd mention. I'd also like to complete, well, I don't know if it will be completing it, because I feel like it's no longer a trilogy. I feel like there's at least a fourth book in this series, or whatever it is, but it's The Trials of Apollo by Rick Riordan, one of my favourite authors, and I never remember how to say his surname, I do apologise. You may have seen in my wrap up that I have read the first two books of the Trials of Apollo series, so I wanted to catch up with The Burning Maze. I read the first two pretty much back to back together, so it'd be interesting to come back into this world after reading quite a few different books in between the second and the third one. So we'll see my thoughts on this. But basically, for any of you who don't know, just a brief summary. Apollo has been sent crashing to Earth because he's done something to outrage his father Zeus. He finds himself in the body of a young boy called Lester, and he's trying to discover what on earth he's been sent down here for, and also getting caught up in quite a lot of demigod drama. Obviously there's a lot of questing, a lot of stuff happening, monster fighting, battling, dueling, and he's at the heart of it, but he doesn't understand, particularly because in his body, his human body can only remember and know so much, so facts that he would easily be able to grasp as a god is out of his reach as a teenage mortal boy. So it's very interesting. I'm really enjoying the book so far, so I'd love to get to this hopefully by the end of this year, but I don't know, but that's why I'm just kind of making it more of a lenient, you know, winter TBR. Another chunker I want to get to is The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman. So this is volume 1, La Belle Sauvage. I probably butchered that. This is the first book in his new series, Book of Dust books. I've got the second one as well, but obviously I've not read this one yet. And it's carrying on in his Dark Materials original trilogy, which I loved. I've talked about this quite a bit, I feel, of late in my recent videos, so I'll try not to repeat too much, but not everybody watches everything, so I'll try and give you a brief overview of my thoughts. Basically, I don't know how I'm going to do this. So I recently read the graphic novel adaptation of the first original book, Northern Lights, and I didn't know, basically I came to the conclusion that I wanted to continue my reread because I read the original trilogy previously, but I wanted to do my reread of just the graphic novels because it was a nice refresher, quick to get through before starting this. But it seems to me that they don't have any more graphic novel adaptations out, and I feel like it would be my better benefit to reread the original trilogy first before coming into this, because I hadn't read it since like I was like 12 or whatever, and I'm now 23, so it's quite a lot. But then I thought, oh, maybe the TV show will help me, but then I thought that's still only book 1, I think, that they're adapting into that TV show at the minute. So in my head it would be weird to jump from the graphic novel adaptation of book 1 to then this, because there's a whole history that I've skipped over before getting to this, and I know in the long run that will confuse me. So perhaps I will read the novels, but then if I read the novels, like the novel versions again, do I then continue with book 2? And then, I don't know, because technically I've reread book 1 but in graphic novel version. I don't know, there's just something off-putting about it. I feel like I have to read them in the same format. I don't know, but I want to get to the Book of Dust. I think it's the prequel to the series. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's a prequel. So obviously I don't want to go into too much depth about it, because if you guys haven't read anything from his Dark Materials before, this will spoil probably some things. There's enough rambling on Philip Pullman. Let's get on to the next book, shall we? So another thing I would love to get to, because it's one that I've had on a few kind of what I want to read, you know, sort of TBRs, whether I've actively said it on here or whether it's just in my mind that I want to, I point at my chest when I say in my mind, that made no sense, in my mind that I want to get to, and I've just not. So this is Kate Atkinson's Transcription. I always think of another book when I think of this, but I still want to read this book, but I never remember what it's about. So I know, right? Great. So in 1940, 18-year-old Juliet Armstrong is reluctantly recruited into the world of espionage, sent to an obscure department of MI5, tasked with monitoring the comings and goings of British fascist sympathisers. She discovers the work to be, by turns, both tedious and terrifying. But after the war has ended, she presumes the events of those years have been relegated to the past forever. 10 years later, now producer at the BBC, Juliet is unexpectedly confronted by figures from her past. A different war is being fought now, on a different battleground, but Juliet finds herself once more under threat. A bill of reckoning is due, and she finally begins to realise that there is no action without consequence. So I hope that it will take more of like a back and forth sort of then and now, past and present merged kind of narration. I'd hope it does something like that. If not, hopefully I still enjoy it. But it's one of those rarities where I delve a little bit more out of my comfort zone. I've been doing that for the past couple of years, and I've enjoyed most things that I've read that have been way out of my comfort zone. But every now and then, like when I'm reading a lot of like heavy fantasy, or not even heavy fantasy, but more fantasy back to back, and more things that I typically go to back to back, it's nice to have something to break it up, and just kind of rekindle my enjoyment for reading other things outside the circles that I usually read in. So yeah, hopefully that's a good one. This is another one, and it's one that I need to really get to. I believe they've got film rights, and I think it's coming out next year if I remember correctly, and that is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. So I actually wanted to do some sort of video thing doing maybe a reading vlog with this and what's it called, something, Red Wolf something Lion, you know, the other one that sounds like it's also like African mythology. And anyway, I want to do a video kind of comparing and contrasting, because there's some thoughts in my mind that I thought, oh, they sound similar in that same way from what just I've overheard. I'd like to do a video kind of doing something with those two, so hand in hand, hopefully that other book will be kind of in there too. So if I remember, I'll do a reading vlog about this. But a lot of people, I believe, know about Children of Blood and Bone. I don't actually know an awful lot. I've watched a lot of videos where people have talked about their enjoyment, but I feel like I've subconsciously tried to steer away from knowing the ins and outs of the actual plot. I just know that we're following like someone from royalty, someone from not royalty, and they meet and they go on this path, something to get their magic back. It sounded good enough for me. I think people said it's like the African version of the Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was an anime that I absolutely adored. Shall we say? I feel like I would enjoy it. The hype's died down a lot now, so I'm hoping that won't sway me in any way, and it would just be like pure emotion, thoughts, which it usually is anyway, but you know what I mean. Next up, another new book. Oh, I shook the camera, sorry. Next up, another new book that I recently purchased, and the next one is as well actually. But that is Persepolis. I'm so sorry, I need to figure out how to say that. The Story of Childhood and the Story of Return, by Marjane Satrapi. Again, I talked about this a little bit more in my book haul. It's a graphic novel of a real happening, based on a real story, and it sounds interesting. And again, I keep getting shocked that it's a major motion picture, because I didn't realise, and I don't feel like I've seen any trailers. I don't know when it came out, but something that I'd like to get to, so we shall see. And this one I haven't actually hauled yet, and I probably won't, because I haven't really bought any books since the last haul. So this one I bought from someone on Instagram called, I think she's Zoe Collins, and she's got a YouTube channel called No Safer Place. I really enjoy her content, and yeah, it's called Winter Magic by Abby Elphinstone. But it's not by her, it's curated by her. So it's basically, I didn't realise this at the time of buying. I just saw her name and saw the cover, and I was like, oh my god, because basically last year I read her World Book Day book, and I thought it was fantastic, and ever since I've kind of had her in my mind as someone I'd like to read more from. She does like amazing middle grade fantasy. I'm a bit crazy saying that because I've only read one book by her, but anyway, this is curated by her, so it's a collection of short stories by, I think they're all middle grade fantasy authors, and she's got the opening story, and then she's like hand-picked and worked with, or whatever, other authors to get some awesome stories. And it sounds like the perfect time to read it because it's called Winter Magic. So the stories include Michelle Harrison, Piers Torday, Lauren St. John, Amy Alwood, Catherine Woodfine, Geraldine McCawthorne, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, Burley Doherty, Jamelia Gavin, Michelle Megorian, Emma Carroll, and Abby Elphinstone. I feel like I've read Michelle Harrison before, or maybe there's something that I'd want to read from her. Emma Carroll did In the Woods. Where is it? It's on that shelf somewhere, but I can't see it. But that graphic novel, kind of scary story collection, and of course Abby Elphinstone. So hopefully I will enjoy this. I feel like I really would. Yeah, I think I'd love them, and hopefully it will make me see some new middle grade fantasy authors to check out. And then lastly, one that I've been wanting to read since I got this issue, which is from February to April, is this copy of Womankind and Well Behind. I was starting to collect it. I've only got like 4, including the one after this, I think. So I've only read like 2 previously, but I loved them. So they're every couple of months they come out, and yeah, it's just amazing. It's a piece of, oh, there's stuff in here. Oh, it's just my voucher and receipt for it. But there's it talks a lot about like politics, science, not too much politics, art, lots of stuff with women involvement, movement, kind of environmental strategies and stuff. It's a really good book to read, or magazine rather, and it packs a punch. So I got well more chill as the video went on, didn't I? But anyway, I will leave you guys to that. Hopefully I get to the books that I mentioned this season and enjoy them. It would be great if I did. Stay tuned for like book reviews, wrap ups, that sort of stuff. Obviously on my Goodreads if you'd like to, which is always linked in the description. and my Instagram as well, that shows you what I'm reading and when and what I thought about it straight away. But yeah, let me know what you're hoping to read in the next couple of months, or if you do like a different kind of TBR for like weekly, monthly, depending on how much you read or whatever. I'd love to know. I'll speak to you in another video soon. Bye.